Hi, I'm McCall Gordon. I'm an author, a researcher, and a certified gentle sleep coach who specializes in working with kids who are alert and intense, persistent and perceptive, and who just never want to sleep. Today I want to talk about one of the biggest, most unknown culprits of the worst sleep problems I have encountered in my work as a sleep coach. And for some reason, it's really cropped up in the past 5 years or so. I don't quite know why yet. These are really bad sleep problems. This is not just waking a couple of times at night or having a tough time falling asleep at bedtime. These are kind of nightmarishly bad problems that have not been responsive to any other kind of work on sleep, even co-sleeping. These are kids who take an hour or more to fall asleep at bedtime, are restless, they wake every hour, they often have a long wake up in the middle of the night where nothing works to get them back to sleep. Some of the clients that I've had in the past have just had unspeakably hard sleep problems. One mom needed to stand while holding her kid with his legs dangling from 12 to 5 a.m. in the morning every single night. Another client had a 3-year-old and who woke up many times at night, and every time that child woke up, they needed to put him in the car to get him back to sleep. So they were getting in the car several times every single night. I mean, these are like bad problems. We're going to talk about symptoms of this condition and then what it is and how you can get tested and treated. If you've been struggling with sleep and it has not been responsive to anything you have tried, or it came out of the blue, if you had a kid who was sleeping pretty well and then all of a sudden sleep just took this crazy turn, you're going to want to listen to this. All right, what we're talking about here is low ferritin, which causes pediatric restless leg syndrome. Now, just bear with me. Listen to the symptoms first and see if it sounds like your child. Typical symptoms, in addition to the long time to fall asleep, often frequent waking or a long wake up in the middle of the night where nothing works to get them back to sleep. Symptoms include like a lot of restlessness even when they are asleep. So people who have resorted to co-sleeping, I say, well, how is that going? And they usually go, oh my God, I've got bruises. It's like Kung Fu Panda, right? The child is pushing with their legs or kicking, or they need their legs up on top of the parent. Or here's the big one for me. The big red flag is when they say, oh, he has to sleep on top of me. That's always a little strange, right? Because co-sleeping, a child has everything they need. Why do they need to sleep on top of you? Well, usually these kids cannot tolerate pressure on their legs. So laying down on a mattress causes pressure and they need to be up. So parents will say, oh, I have to hold him standing. I cannot sit down. Well, if you're standing, again, their legs are dangling free. Or if you're even sitting on a chair, sometimes people say they have to lay on top of me. And I say, well, are their legs dangling off the side? Because that releases the pressure. If they have to put their legs up the wall, that's another one. Sleeping in weird positions. This is a condition that causes extreme discomfort in the body. Now, it seems to feel different for different individuals, and this is true even with adults who have it. Kids will say they feel nervous, they feel afraid. It can hurt. Growing pains now are thought to be restless legs. So if your child complains that their legs or their knees or their ankles or their toes hurt, and when you've chalked it up to growing pains, that's actually a key symptom. So for some kids it hurts, other kids it just makes them feel on edge. And of course they're too young to know that they're not supposed to feel that way. Some kids will say, it feels like I have bumblebees in my legs, or it feels like ants, or it feels prickly or tickly. Again, it's different probably based on age and from child to child. So if your child is old enough to complain about their legs hurting, that's a major indicator for restless legs and low ferritin. Other symptoms include daytime fatigue. If you have a small one and they're sleeping horribly at night, but they're napping super well, or if you have an older child who's falling asleep at daycare before nap time, that's another key indicator. Crying or moaning in their sleep. So even when they are asleep, they're kind of crying, sometimes like sleepwalking or night terror like behavior, because I think this causes them to wake partially out of a deep sleep. So part of their brain is asleep while part is awake. That can be another indicator. I mean, of course, if it goes with some of these other symptoms, not in isolation, but with the other symptoms. The absence of success with regular sleep training strategies. I'll tell you that in the presence of low ferritin, even starting to work on sleep behaviors will blow up in your face. I've tried that before where it's not really clear. And so we go, well, let's give it 3 days. Let's just try to see if we can work a little bit on those sleep skills. And it goes absolutely nowhere. It destroys their ability to navigate sleep and to manage their sleep behavior. It's completely gone. One of the first clients that I had was a 7-month-old baby. Mom couldn't even unlatch from the breast to start working on sleep. That baby lost it so intensely. That child ended up having a ferritin of 1, which is just dangerously low. So that can be an indicator by itself. If you say we've tried everything and literally we've gotten nowhere. And the last one is breath holding spells. So if you have a child who's one of those that cries so hard that they hold their breath, that's an involuntary response, folks. Kids are not willfully holding their breath. That's a neurological phenomenon. Kids who have low ferritin also have breath holding spells. Again, these are not garden variety easy sleep problems. These are crazy hard sleep problems, the worst I've seen by far. What are some of the risk factors? Where does this come from? I should explain, is the iron storage factor in the blood. It is related to iron. It is not iron itself. It's how the body stores iron to use it for later. So you can have plenty of iron floating around, but if you can't store it, your body won't be able to access it. So ferritin is incredibly important. Children get it in utero from mom. If mom was low iron in pregnancy or had restless legs syndrome, meaning she was probably low ferritin, she's not going to have as much to share with the baby. So the baby could start out low. Intrauterine growth restriction is a risk factor. C-section, if they do not delay clamping the cord. What's coming across in that pulsing of the cord can be a dose of ferritin. So if we clamp it early, that's another way that a child doesn't get as much as they would have otherwise. Family history of low iron, growing pains, or restless legs. This stuff is genetic. So if anybody in the family had it, that's a good chance the child has it. By the way, early cord clamping doubles the risk of low ferritin. Diagnosis of ADHD or autism spectrum. It's estimated that 50% of kids with these diagnoses have restless leg syndrome, which also worsens their daytime symptoms. So sometimes what we think of as a kid with ADHD actually just has insanely broken sleep. And once sleep gets better, those symptoms seem to get a lot better as well. A child history of reflux or food intolerance or allergy. Gut inflammation impedes absorption of iron. It just messes with your gut. A lot of consumption of dairy after they're 1 year old, if they're drinking a lot of cow's milk, that can make a difference. And also kids who are exclusively breastfed past 6 months. Again, breastfed babies are supposed to be supplemented with iron, and nobody's telling parents that. I don't know why. But breastfed babies are supposed to get iron by 4 to 6 months because their dose from birth kind of runs out. Okay. So if you're kind of going, oh my goodness, ding, 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 this is all lining up, what do you do? So I have good news, bad news, good news, bad news, bad news, good news. It's a whole series. The bad news is it requires a blood draw. Ew, yuck. I know, I hate needles, so I feel you. I do not recommend this casually. In babies, it can really be a challenge to get a blood draw. It cannot be a finger stick, and doctors cannot just test iron. Iron can be fine and ferritin can be too low. So an iron test is just not going to do it. It has to be a ferritin test. The good news is it comes back quite quickly. Next, we have to get it properly diagnosed. So pediatricians are using about between 7 and 12 as the threshold for low. What they're looking for is iron deficiency. That is a very, very low number. If you get ferritin tested and it comes in under 10 or under 7, your child is iron deficient. But here's the thing, in the presence of sleep problems and these other symptoms, sleep doctors want that number to be 50, 50, or above. I saw one kid who the sleep doctors were trying to get to 75 or 100. So if a child gets tested and they come back at 17, a pediatrician's going to be like, that's fine. It's not fine when sleep problems are involved. So I often urge parents either to educate your pediatrician about this stuff. I do have a handout that I can send you if you email me and ask for it or book a 30-minute call. I have a handout that's packed with research citations to give to a pediatrician with a symptom checklist. You can try to get your pediatrician to be aware of this, or you're going to need to contact a local pediatric sleep clinic and talk to sleep doctors. Luckily, if you have a ferritin test in hand, often, no guarantees, but I will say it's quicker, just because you don't need a sleep study in order to get this diagnosis. Once you get in touch with somebody who will treat it, children need a higher than usual dosage of iron in order to bring levels up. Now, big caveat, I am not a doctor. I was trained by a pediatric pulmonologist / sleep doctor, so I have all this information. I have a degree in human biology. I know stuff, but I am not a doctor. So this is purely informational. You need to talk to your doctor. Please do not try to treat low ferritin on your own. You need a doctor to tell you how much iron to give your child. Iron is toxic. And if you just go off and try to give your child more than the label dosage, it could be quite dangerous. So please do not. Over-the-counter dosages, fine. Multivitamin with iron, fine. That will not bring ferritin up, but it's also not dangerous to just give them a multivitamin with iron at first. In order to treat low ferritin, children often need higher than the normal dosage to bring that ferritin level up. I will say, please don't let someone dismiss you on this, because low ferritin is serious, and the amount of broken sleep that plagues children with this is really quite serious. Okay, what's the trajectory once you're on iron? Well, unfortunately, it's not like giving them Advil. It won't clear it up right away. It takes weeks and weeks and weeks, in some cases months, for that level to budge. Not lots of months, but like 6 weeks maybe. You'll see a little bit of change supposedly in the first couple of weeks, but really for levels to start coming up and to finally get to a place where a child isn't uncomfortable can take a couple of months. It's a long process, I'm sorry to say. You do want somebody to help you track progress, because some kids do not absorb iron in oral form and they actually need transfusions. That's kind of rare, so don't get freaked out. In the meantime, children continue to have broken sleep. What can you do? Leg massages, Epsom salts baths, magnesium lotion, giving them something to put their legs up on. If they're old enough, tell them what's going on with their body and things that they can do to help their legs feel better. Lower your expectations for sleep. These children just cannot manage their sleep, and you may need to bend a lot of rules for them with sleep, including later bedtimes, sleeping in different positions in different places, being nearby to them when you may not feel like that's what you wanted to do. Again, these kids feel scared, they feel on edge, and having you nearby is actually helpful for them. So that's the whole deal with low ferritin. I will put a link to an article that I wrote in the notes that summarizes all of this. I do offer 30-minute low ferritin phone calls for like $40. You can book that on my website and we can talk about it, and I can go through and listen to what symptoms you think you have and give you my perspective on whether I think it's worth it to go try to get it resolved. I can tell you, among the people that I know who have had these problems, gotten the test, gotten the treatment, and seen improvement, it's like magic. This is the best news of all. Once levels come up, sleep problems kind of go poof, like poof. That kid that needed to be in the car every time he woke up, once his levels came up, his mom said that he would go to his bed, climb in, and sleep for 11 straight hours. I know. Yeah, it's like, I don't want to say it, but ultimately it's like magic. It really makes a difference. And I would not be talking about this, and I would not be sending people to get testing if I didn't know from lots of people coming back to me that it was the solution that they hadn't found before. Often people have been to GIs and naturopaths and OTs and ENTs and all kinds of different specialists who have not found this problem, and this ends up being the solution. So I hope this is helpful. Please comment if you have questions or contact me on my website. I'll put all that information in the notes. Hang in.